anything straight man finds attractive.
Right.
It gets at least blasted by these game journalists as sexist or what.
Right, so you have like a girl in a bikini, whatever. Oh no, gotta fucking lens flares everywhere, covering everything up because they want to offend people. Of seeing like
all those guys that I saw fighting male characters are in tights and they're wearing almost nothing else. They don't care.
Even characters like Mortal Kombat, even though what's done with Mortal Kombat is kind of funny. They covered up all the Mortal Kombat girls because that was offensive. But you could still brutally murder them. So like beating them to death and cutting their heads off and blowing them apart, that's fine. As long as you can't see their boobs. That's the important. Like don't want to see their boobs while you're brutally murdering them. It's so stupid. But anyway, it's whatever. Like I hate the left anyway. What's funny is the left used to be pro-freedom when they were in the minority position and the right was in charge. But then, as you see, as soon as they got power, they became just as censorious as the right. But instead of doing it into fighting degeneracy, they do it into like maintaining conformity. Like they don't like the left doesn't care about degeneracy; they care about hate speech, and hate speech is anything that they don't like. So it's the same shit. Both sides are just as bad. The only reason why I hate the left more right now is because they have power. But if the right had power, then they would be just as bad. They'd be trying to take my freedom away, trying to ban everything I like because they want to make sure they're the little anti-degeneracy bullshit.
I mean, the thing with that is this is just like an anecdotal trend I've noticed with people I've met on the internet is the people that get very triggered and just pull some lollies I later end up finding out are lolicons and furries sharing a lolicon hentai. Maybe that's just maybe I just got unlucky and there's the ones I met and there's legit people that just really hate lollies and lolicons, but so far all the ones I met later end up being lolicon customers.
What's that outspoken rule? The staunch anti-gay politician turns out to be a closet gay. The one who the politician we know most about is actually pedophiles in real life.
PhD, you have a special job, workaholic life. If you had more free time, what mysteries of life would you investigate? Have you considered going to Fermi Lab to study neutrino oscillation?
Oh, that's from basic, but that's just an awfully specific area study suggestion I'm not familiar with. But so far,
it's a quantum mechanical phenomenon. I can't pronounce that word.
So, are you a you need help?
I guess you can say somewhat that I have two jobs and additional income streams that I manage. But I still take my time, enjoy life. My primary job, which it's free from my supervisor, which I appreciate the nature. But as long as I get all the job done, nobody watches me. How I spend my time in my office. And the secondary job, it's a contract job. I just do occasionally once in a while for people I know or familiar with, or they recommend me, a friend of a friend. And when I get opportunity, I earn some extra income. So I guess I do both work hard, but also I take time to relax and enjoy myself as well. I don't have to work as much money as I do right now, especially as a single guy who's not starting family anytime soon, but I'm just preparing a bit more for the extra for the future. And if necessary, immediate family, I can uproot myself and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I have no streams of income myself, but I take days off and enjoy myself. It's like, yeah, but what would I do? So, what do you do on vacation? You go to the beach, you sleep in the hotel, you go touristy stuff. Well, I have
Right, the typical travel, but that's just a excuse for vacation. Not necessarily everyone. That has to be everyone's dream vacation.
Yeah,
And also,
it's all the-
already been to 19 different countries. So I've seen plenty for a while now. So I'm not in a big urge to travel, to have to travel anywhere far exotic anytime soon.
Well, yeah, because most of the time it's like the touristy stuff. Like you want to see this landmark, you want to see this piece of art, and it's like I've seen pictures of it. I don't really care to see it in person.
Just what I just said. Out of the 11 of them was to one big trip throughout Europe a couple years back when I was student.
It's kind of overrated. Look, I'm not against
I took some picture of each place, mostly the European country. We just went through the capital. I took some pictures of landmarks from this place, and then tried some food, but that's about it. It's not. Yeah, I didn't think it's something that has to do with a lot of time.
Yeah, I have really good restaurants around me, so like if I want to go and have a nice meal, I can do it. If I want to go do something, I don't need to go on vacation. I can take a day off. Whatever I want. It's just that like I have a nice house, my bed is comfortable, like all the stuff I like I have. So I don't feel the need to like go somewhere, experience something nice, own nice things.
Salt Robin donated $5. First, I know that this is stupid. Really brought for a relationship with someone else, namely a woman. If a man identifies as a woman and then the woman identifies as a man, may this work /Deborah's insurance? I hope everyone is doing well. And have a good night /day.
Alright, I'll tell you why this won't work. So, everyone knows that these trans people, they know what they are. Like, unless you're Blair White and you can really pull off, passing as a woman or vice versa, everyone knows you're just like a low-budget drag queen. So, when you show up at court and you're like, I'm a woman, everyone knows you're a trans woman. And I assume the same thing would be true of this woman who identifies as a man. She's going to be feminine. She's going to be obviously not a man. So when you go to court, it's not about what you identify as. It's about, it's about the gynocentrism that's baked into not just our society, but men want to protect and provide for women, and women have an in-group preference. So women are just going to get the better end of the deal. In fact, most women who are trans, they don't identify as trans men, they identify as non-binary because they don't want to give up their female privilege. They want to make sure they can still be deferred to by society even though they want to be trans. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's whatever. But you're not going to be able to somehow get a family court judge to side with you because you have a piece of paper that says you're a woman against a biological woman. Because that own group preference isn't based on a piece of paper. Now, can being a trans person protect you against feminist bullshit and layoffs and all the woke bullshit? Yes. Because you have to understand the nature of it. Where does the woke bullshit come from? It's from the law. The law is saying you have to hire so many minorities. The law is saying, you gotta get woke because we got the message. So you're using a loophole in the law to protect yourself from the law. But when you're in family court, the law isn't really the problem. It's the bias towards women, which is more or less psychological. And so the letter in your driver's license doesn't even factor. Now, if you're Blair White and you look like a real woman, and people treat you like a real woman, and then you get married to a woman, lesbians together, and then you go to family court, the judge and the court are probably going to treat you like a lesbian couple, even if you're a biological man. So if you're
the key there is whether you pass or not.
Yeah, it's more with how you pass than what you say, what your paperwork says. If you can pass as a woman, you'll probably fare very well in divorce court. But if you look like
technically marriage and divorce laws and alimony and child support custody, so it's supposed to be equal on paper, but of course it's just a blatant preference of towards one that selectively enforce it.
If you're gay, that's not true. If you're gay, you get automatic joint custody. If you're heterosexual, it basically goes, primary custody goes to the woman and the man gets visitation. So all you have to do is
That's what I said. They blatantly apply only one way when it comes to men and women. So that's why it's not fair.
you have to identify as a woman and then be a lesbian, and then when you go to divorce court, they'll give you joint custody because you're a lesbian couple. Now, if you want, but the problem is, in order to get people to stop treating you like a man, you have to look like a woman, which means identifying as a man. That will protect you from legal bullshit, but it won't protect you from gynocentrism. You have to be like Blair White. You have to look like a woman. You have to be able to pass as a woman if you want society to treat you like a woman. Now, if you're not, that's going to require plastic surgery, hormones, all that shit. But if that's not worth it to you, if this is all just like, I just want to outfox the family court, you can't. If you want to outfox the family court, go to another country. Go to another country where women don't have rights and there's patriarchy, and stay there. That's how you outfox the family court.
Or you just don't play the game in the first place and don't get married, don't go have kids.
Everyone's trying to, they understand that, but they don't want to admit that. They want to believe there's a chance. There's like a loophole that they can exploit to have their family that they want without having to leave the country, without having to give up everything, without sacrificing their desires for a real woman for settling with a waifu. They don't want to admit that. They want to hope that there's like some magical way, some way they can maintain enough frame and it'll work somehow.
Maintain the frame by wearing a skirt to court.
Well, you can't just wear a skirt. You gotta go full Blair White.
Well, I know, but the skirt is like a part of that.
Basically, you better appear to look passable for a real woman, or they will be biased against you.
Yep. Well, my point is that you're maintaining frame to feel like a man and like a father or whatever is by completely dressing and changing your body into that of a woman. It's like the irony is real.
Well, I don't think he was even suggesting that. He just wanted to identify, basically, maybe there's some girl who's like, oh, well, I want you to marry me, I'll do anything. And maybe he's like, well, what if you identify as a man, I identify as a woman, and then if we get divorced, the courts will side with me? No, they won't. They'll take one look at you, take one look at her, and they'll look at okay, you identify as a man, and he identifies as a woman, but you're clearly a man, and she's clearly a woman. And then everything will just go back to the default, so it doesn't matter.
Well, and even if that wasn't the case, she would just as soon as the papers dropped or something, or maybe right before, she would just change her paperwork back anyway, very easily.
Yeah, during the divorce proceedings, she would just change her gender, or she wouldn't even bother. She'd just be like, look, I'm a biological woman, my husband told me to identify as a man, but it's bullshit. And the judge would be like, yeah, it is bullshit. Well, enjoy getting divorced for Mr. Man. And then that would be it. You can't, no one cares about your paperwork unless you're talking about a job, because they know it's bullshit, but they're just trying to ate a lawsuit or whatever, maintain a quota. They're not trying to, they don't hate
At the very least, if you get your paperwork changed before the divorce rate thing happens, they'll send you to a female child support jail instead of a male one.
Right, I was just saying that you kind of have to know, you have to fight fire with fire, or more specific, fight magic A with magic A, where if you identify as a woman, helps you get past the BS laws and come to jobs and quotas and all that, because the hiring company also knows it's BS, it's just forced to comply. If it's innate biological preference towards women when it comes to family and child support and raising kids, just changing a letter in your name, your ID, does not work against that. Is fascism left or right? Depends. If you this reaction
What about that, you fucking retard? And they're like, oh, well, capitalism killed people. No, it didn't. No, it fucking did. Yeah, what about there was people who starved and no one gave them free money and they starved. That's capitalism's fault. No, that's nature. So people live and die all the time. There's scarcity, there's competition. Capitalism didn't invent scarcity and competition. Before Adam Smith, people didn't just have infinite everything with no competitions for resources. Adam Smith came along and competition and scarcity. So, I understand. You're like, oh, what about this argument? Honestly, look it up. I guarantee 1,000 economists have debunked the Kansas argument, and I just couldn't give less of a shit. I don't know off the top of my head. I do know economists don't know shit about shit, and I don't care. This argument is probably decades old, just like the wage gap. Like, what do you say about feminists who say that women get paid less than men for the same work? It's been debunked a million times. Look it up. I don't know what to tell you. And if you are a communist, you're like, oh, well, you didn't debunk my argument. You admitted defeat. Look, I don't give a fuck. You believe whatever the fuck you want. You'll be dead soon, and I won't have to deal with your bullshit. So you enjoy communism's totally gonna work this time, guys. Where'd all the food go? Oh, I'm dying. How could capitalism do this? Exactly. So I just don't care to argue with communists. Like, it doesn't even work on paper. And I just don't have time. Like, look it up. Look up arguments, look at counter arguments. I promise you it's about in explicit detail, just like the wage gap. Anybody who genuinely thinks the wage gap is real is retarded. All the evidence is out there. You're willingly ignorant. If you continually make the same argument, and you're like, oh, you don't have a counter argument for every bullshit argument has been debunked a long time, I guess I win. Like, yeah, you sure did. You win the prize. You're the biggest retard I've met today. Alright, if losing something hurts more than gaining it, what is the method to dealing with great loss, IRL? You just have to accept it, man. That's the grief cycle. What's the final phase of the grief cycle? It's acceptance. So that's how you deal.
I assume the question was when it gets lost and losing someone you love. But you also go the other way. Life is valuable because it has its limited time. If everyone lives forever, what is life even valuable anymore?
Yeah, so you just have to just accept. Acceptance is that's the ultimate way to deal with loss, is just have to accept it. Alright. Oh my goodness. If pain is a good teacher, how would one be cognizant of that in regards to parenting? Well, look, you only spank when you have to, but you can't take spanking off the table. The kid has to know there are consequences. If you can teach them consequences without spanking, you make them understand why what they did was wrong. You make them undo their mistake, apologizing or fixing whatever they broke or whatever. And you don't have to spank just as a matter of course. But, for example, let's say someone's throwing a tantrum and you tell them to stop and they won't listen. So you tell them to sit in the corner and they won't go. You sit with them in the corner and they are biting and kicking and screaming. At what point do you whoop their ass? At some point you have to whoop their fucking ass. Like, if you refuse to do so, at the end of the story, the child's going to put you in a scenario where you have two choices. You could whoop their ass or you can give in to their demands. If you give in to demands, they'll help you. Because you just told them whatever they want, all they have to do to give in to their limit. And they will push the limit every time. Because they know it'll get rid of what they want. So you never give it out of your
Well, let's deny.
Parents whoop your fucking works. Fantastic. You definitely want to use it as a last resort. But there are people who like refuse to spank, and then you will end up giving it to teenagers, and you will